Hello, hi everyone. It's Alex here from the Logic Artist Studios, and I am here to talk to you guys again about the Fabula event editor that we used to make Expeditions Conquistador. The fact that you're on this YouTube channel probably leads me to presume that you have an idea of what Expeditions Conquistador is and what the Fabula event editor is. But if not, you can download the game and the editor at the links that will be in the comments or in the description section of the video, and that's what you'll need to get started. So this is the second video, and we already talked about some stuff in the first video about what you want to do when you're making stuff with the Fabula editor if you're trying to mod the game. And one of those things is that you don't want to work with the root or the core language versions. So what you want to do is you want to pick one that you are comfortable working in. For me, it's English, and say copy and paste. And now we have this English copy in the override folder, and we're going to call it something different, like we'll call it test. Okay, just so that we know. Now what should happen now is that when I open Expeditions Conquistador, there should be a language option for test. So let's open up Expeditions Conquistador to double check that, make sure that everything is okay before we move forward. So we're gonna go into the options, gameplay, English. Option here is test. Excellent. Okay, so the options there, and that's good. So first thing has happened successfully. Now what we're gonna want to do now that we have this document, which is basically a duplicate of or a folder which is basically a duplicate of the other document, is we're going to use the Fabula editor to look at the files there and to edit them. So the way that we constructed the game, we used XMLs to house all of the events and whatnot, and then we created this event editor to edit those events or to create them or whatnot. And the ones we're going to be working with today are called random events. So you go into override, and I don't want to go into Italian, I want to go into test. Then I want to select the random events XML, and when it loads up here, you'll see this thing is filled with random event nodes. Some of them are a little less random than others. But what's important to note here, it can be a little bit intimidating when you first look at this stuff, but what you just have to remember is that basically the way we've organized it is that at the top of every section we have a logic event, and that logic event checks the game logic, checks to see what's going on and if any of these conditions have been fulfilled. If none of these have been fulfilled, then it will go down to the next logic event and it will check there. If they have been fulfilled, then what they'll do is they will create they will either check additional conditions like this one here, or they will run a jump. And the jump, essentially what that does, we'll go over here and we'll show you where the destination is. The jump moves the system from checking to activating or unactivated now event. So then here's the destination, called Contextual Memorial Romance Begin. The jump is called Contextual Memorial Romance Begin. Okay, so that is sort of the first thing that you need to have an idea of. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start creating our own events. So to create a new event, you hit Control and N, and when the XML updates, we will see here down at the bottom, here it is, a new event. Nothing's on it. Okay, so we have a number of naming conventions, and there is a file here in the Fabula writing conventions file that you can go through, and I would recommend going through this before you get started, getting an idea. And this is a great referencing point where you can check all of the different conditions and things that we have here available for you to work with, and it's quite a number of things. So you just need to really scan through here and look for find what you're looking for. If the game does it normally, then there's some sort of condition or event method of doing it. So if you don't find exactly what you're looking for here, but you know what happens in an event in the game, then what you can do is you can open up one of these XMLs and see how we do it ourselves. Anyway, let's keep going forward. So now we've created a new event, and this new event we're going to have to give a tag. And because I don't want it to be, I wanted it to be as part of the main events, because, well, basically we had this question from a guy on the last YouTube video, or some comments that were like, you know, I think that he was inferring that he wanted to know what kind of sort of unique storyline type stuff you could do. You know, can I create my own stories? Can I modify them, and can I have them sort of sit in a position where they happen sort of extrinsic from the main events, so or the main storyline. But and so we're going to put it into main random events, and the reason we're going to do that is because a number of these events generally have probabilities. So we're scanning through various probabilities to see if something's going on, if there's something that's triggerable. And the thing is that for us, in this particular scenario, we don't want it to be a probability based. We want it to be based on essentially a condition that we're going to set. So the first thing that we need to do is name the event. So it's going to be main underscore, and I'm going to call it disco party. It's going to be a disco party event. And so then the name of the event presented when the player's reading it will be disco party. Okay. So now we have this event, main disco party, and what we're looking for now is, or what we need to do is to create a destination. Basically, we need to have a landing point so that this event occurs, right? So we go add, and we select destination, and we're going to say disco party begin. Right, so now we're going to have this thing. It's going to be like, okay, when the disco party, when we call this check, that's going to happen up here, then we're going to create a jump, and that's going to send us to disco party begin. And we'll get back to creating that stuff at the top in a moment, but first I want to do a few more things. Once we've created the destination, we want to add an image, and the reason for that is because generally in Conquistador, when you're, well, generally actually I think in all circumstances, in Conquistador, when you're when an event occurs, there is an image that that goes alongside that, and one of the images is called camp, so I'm just going to use that particular image to represent the disco party event. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set an integer, and the reason we're going to set an integer here is because this particular event is going to be, for us in our mod, you know, the mod we're making here together today, it's going to be an event that we only want to happen one time, right? We only want it to occur this one time, and then once it's occurred, we don't want it to happen again, because it's part of our new storyline, right? And if it kept repeating itself, then you know, it would break the immersion of the RPG in a way. So so what we want to do is we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call it set int, and we're going to call this one disco party done, and we're going to give it a value of 1. Okay, so we're going to set this int disco party done equal to 1. And when we've done that, then we're going to add some kind of, that's just to, like I said, to make sure that we don't have this event occurring over and over again. And then we need some kind of text, right? So the text is going to be your expedition. Oopsie, crazy. Your expedition decides to throw a disco party. Disco dance party. Cool. So that sets the mood, right? One of the things that we do generally to make sure that so the player feels like they're experiencing an RPG is we give them choices. So we give them this choice, and the choice is going to be, it's going to be some dialogue. We're going to allow the player to ask, you know, what's going on? What is all this? And where all the lights come from? Right, update. So we give them this one choice, and then maybe we give them an additional choice under here. Add choice, and that is get or just join the party, which is not a dialogue choice. So we're not going to click the dialogue choice box there, but we are going to click this one here. Okay, so now we've got this, these two things going, and what we're going to do is, now maybe what we'll do is we'll try and figure out how to get this thing to initialize. So let's go up to the top. That's where the main events are, and there's a condition here that we're going to want to create. So I'm going to say add condition. Right, and this condition is going to be an integer check because we've set this int disco party done, right? And so what we're going to say is we're going to say int, so check int disco party done double equal sign false. So basically, if we do this, if I've done this correctly, which I'll have to double check in a second, the condition is that basically the int, oh, it's not check int, we just say int, disco party done equals false, and what the condition is going to now do is say if the disco party done has not happened, because it's false, then let's add a jump, and we're going to jump them to our thing, which is called disco party begin. It's better to use all caps, you know, make sure that everything's the same up and down. And here the jump, we're going to copy and we're just going to paste it, so I'll just paste it in here. Okay, so now we have a jump at the top in the main events section, and that jump is checking to see basically if disco party has been done. If it hasn't been done, which it hasn't, then we're going to go down to this main event, disco party, here at the destination. So now what we need to do is we need to fill in a little bit more. When you ask this, when the player asks this question, what's all this and where do all the lights come from, what we need is we need some info, like the camp, you know, like some sort of feedback. The camp is filled with no one answers you as they are too busy working. Okay. And then once we give them that additional text feedback, we're going to add another choice, and the reason we're going to do that is we're going to give them the option to just continue, right? Give them a chance to read that text, And then what I also want to do is I want to create a new jump. But before we create the new jump, it's going to complain that there's no destination. So I'm going to add a destination here. And the destination is going to be called Join Disco Party. And then we're going to add this jump, which is going to be a copy of this. Okay. So now what I've done is I've decided that if you just decide to join the party, great. Then there'll be some text that I'm just going to put in here shortly or in a moment to talk about the party. And then if you decide to go with this first text choice, which all this and where all the lights come from, that there's a little bit of feedback for you as well, or for the player. So now we've got join disco dance party, and then what we're going to add is we're going to add some more text. And you know, we're just going to say you laugh. What else do you do at a party? It's full of, that's a disco, and dance and sing and play and drink, and all were merry that day. Bit of poetry, and I didn't even plan it. Here we go. So now what should happen is when we start the game, this condition will be fulfilled, right? Because we haven't set the integer for disco party done to true. So it's going to be false, meaning that we'll jump to disco party begin. And then we're down here, disco party begin. We're going to put up an image, set the integer to disco party done. So the next time we check for it, it won't occur. Then we have a bit of text. Then we have some choices, 2 choices here, right? And then one of the choices leads you to the other choice actually, and that's going to basically finish the event. So now what we want to do is we want to save. So we're going to save that. And we're going to close up this, and we're going to cross our fingers because basically I'm hoping that this will work. So let's choose Hispaniola. Doesn't matter any of this right now. We just need to select some stuff to make sure that we have something to get the game started. And now hopefully it will load properly, which I think it should. Just load us right to the beginning of the game, of course. Haven't done anything to change the language yet, so there shouldn't be an issue here anyway. Now, because I've just started a new game, all of the beginning stuff for the game is still set and ready, meaning that we can't leave the initial Santo Domingo area, and I don't really want to spend time with us hanging out in there doing all that stuff and doing the, you know, the side or the initial tutorial battle and all of that stuff before we can check to see if our thing worked. So we're going to go into dev mode, which is that you press backspace and you type dev mode. Then what that means is that anywhere I put the cursor, if I press T, I'll teleport there, which is pretty cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a language. Let's go to our options, gameplay, not English, right? We want to go to our test language. And now that we're in our test language, we are going to resume the game, and hopefully when I camp, okay, a bunch of stuff is going to happen. First we're going to auto assign everybody their rations and their things, and lo and behold, disco party has initialized. So your party decides the throw, obviously we got some spelling here, the throw a disco dance party. So let's just see if my first option will allow me to lead into the section option. So I go, you know, what's all this and where do all the lights come from? A campus filled with bright torches and flickering lampposts. No one answers you as they are too busy twerking. And then, you know, we give them the continue option. We click on that. You laugh and dance and sing and play and drink and all were merry that day. And there you go. And then we have the end event, which comes up on its own. And so now we've done it. We have created our own first event We've decided that we wanted it to happen the first time that we do a check, so we set the conditions for that, and it totally worked. So anyway, hopefully this has helped you guys out. Remember to use jumps and destinations if you want things to trigger. You have to send them somewhere, and of course if you want them to trigger, you have to have a condition set for them. So hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be happy to talk to you about them, and maybe you can help us figure out a theme for the next video.